Hi, this is Donna Rudowitz, and I am here with one of my lovely star clients, Susan. And we're here because this came up quite unexpectedly, right, Susan? This wasn't a planned conversation. We had a training call yesterday that I conducted that elicited what I would say spirit energy. Would you say that's true? Like the spirit inside of us? And then we just got to talking, and I asked Susan if she would be kind enough to share with you guys kind of what her experience is in the program, what she's feeling, because you could hear it from me, but I think sometimes messages come through other people, and Susan was so kind to take some time out of her day to share with us. So welcome, Susan.
Thank you, Donna. And first of all, it's really an honor, a humble honor. So you don't even need to thank me because I just thank you, anyway. And I'm happy to be able to, let's see if I can recall it the way I said it yesterday.
I know. See, that's what happens, right? It's like we're in the moment and it's there, but I'm sure you're going to be able to. I'm sure you will. And I'm just going to close this door.
Okay.
You don't hear the background noise.
All right. So we'll take it back just to the evening before, yes, because I was emailing you on an unrelated matter, and I was then feeling even earlier that I thought I need to give you some feedback, and I knew that you were getting a lot of feedback, and of course, like all this positive feedback, I could hear it from the other ladies. It was resonating. So I think I said to you something like, you have truly been gifted by God, and I meant that. And at that time, there was another word that I was thinking of, and I thought, well, I won't put that maybe in the email. I think I didn't know where you stood and different things. And then now our conversation yesterday, again, the way the universe and God works, that you were calling on an unrelated matter because I had trouble logging in. And so when you helped me with that, I was able to then just say, ooh, let me just tell you a little more of what, this feedback. And you kindly listened because I didn't want to take up any more of your time than you'd already given me. But, what I couldn't know is how much, which you would tell me, that you needed to really hear it that day. And, because I wanted to make sure, too, for anybody else listening, I wasn't coming across as like the gushy, new groupie person, like, oh, okay, like everything you say is sunshine, I'm blowing smoke, up. No. Yeah. That I was really like.
I don't mind that either. Like, listen,
okay. But like yeah, not that, not really knowing fully my personality, that I'm just not given to like gushing over people just to make them feel good. I wanted you to know that about me. Yes. So then it was still, as I talked with you yesterday, again, and I was making some real pointed references. And Donna, you tell me if you want me to share those, because I will. I don't know how much you want me to say.
This is my belief, and okay, we should probably share the same belief, that who's ever listening to this message is meant to hear this message. And I'm all about sharing. I'm all about sharing, and sharing what we spoke about and sharing everything. So feel free to share as you wish.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So it's interesting too, because the word feedback, the night before was like, and that didn't necessarily stand out to me as much, but now since you and I talked, it was like, yeah, that's what was being said to me, I think, in my spirit, like the feedback, So I remember, of course, just telling you how each point that you've made, and because you said something about, oh, I'm so glad today's training really spoke to you, really touched you. And I said it did, but I'm also talking about the entire series, like thus far for me, that I've never had something speak so, I don't even know if I have the right word right now, but so directly to my like heart of heart spirit. And each thing was really resonating. There was so much pinging is the word I see it as.
Yeah.
But, even taking notes throughout, I'm like, I'm writing fast. I'm thinking I need to, do recording. So, but specifically what I wanted to let you know is that, you had shared from personal experience a couple weeks ago, a week and a half ago. And, you know, you were transparent with us and, you know, shared how very difficult that was for you, and how you were processing it. And, you know, you asked us to keep you in our thoughts and prayers, and I'm sure we all did. I know I did. And and then we moved on. You moved on to the further training. And I would think about that, of course, because I was praying for you too, but I also got to think of that, and it really, really, your experience served as a true inspiration for me, because a big area, the main area, I think, well, one of the main areas that I've been asking for healing of myself, you know, and my higher power is God. So what I've been asking him for was healing. And one of those was recognizing that I had felt like two different people for a very long time.
Yeah.
That the very soft and vulnerable girl, person, woman that I know is in me, and that I know I have been joyful over time in my own situations, my own marriages, my own life experiences, I had learned to develop, you know, the coping mechanism.
Yep.
And became quite, put this in quotes, good at it. Nothing I'm really proud of, but you know, you could turn the thing.
Yeah, you try, you know, it's like we learn how to manage. We learn how to, I kind of equate it to, we learn how to do life with a little bit of a limp, right?
Right.
People may not notice it, and it may not be necessarily really visible, but if we haven't fully processed and done the work and cleared out our soul fracture and intentionally make a change, we're not going to clear out that limp, right? And for you, when you came into the program, and I think this is where we were talking a little bit about yesterday too, was it's very hard for me to give you what you're going to receive here. And what I do ask is, you know, when the right person does come to the program, because that's what I believe that God brings me the people who I'm meant to work with, that you trust in me and let me lead you. And that's hard to do if you've never done the work, or even if you have done work, and just to trust. But I said, just take a step back, trust me, and let's see. And I think what I'm hearing you say today is, and which I'm so honored, is that trust is paying off for you, right? Like you're in a space where you are resonating, and God has led you to the space, and not only with the work that I do, but with your sisters that are also in the program, learning from them, right? Because I think do you feel that too? Like that's a critical piece.
Absolutely. When everything is pinging,
yes,
everything's resonating. Now you have, of course, as our teacher, as you know, you have more of the knowledge and the know-how and leading us, and absolutely. But everybody else, everything that's being said and shared is pinging too. It's like, and so you see, for me, that makes it that much easier to trust, because my spirit is connecting. It's connecting. It's like when you say your spirit bears witness to what.
No, yes. It's like, you know what I feel like, Susan? I feel like it's interesting because I'm looking at the time. I just happened to look up, and it says 111, which are angel numbers, right? So we're even now being guided by our angels at 111. But what I feel, and what I was going to say is, I feel like it's spirits coming home. That, you know, throughout our soul journey in this lifetime, maybe even previous lifetimes, or just now on earth, is that I feel that the work that we do is literally like spirits coming home, and we're family. And this is the place that we get to come and be yourself. You don't have to pretend to be anyone else. You don't have to be ashamed of sharing. And it's just like, we get to just come as we are, in our good days and our bad days. And what I find to be kind of really cool, and tell me about your experience in this, is that, you know, on these Wednesday trainings, I don't script them. I don't plan for them. I really literally wake up on Wednesday morning and I ask to be guided of what I'm meant to teach. So what have you thought about that? Like, what has your experience been on those?
On the Wednesdays?
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of it's been everything I've needed to hear. So it's like, you know, honestly, I wouldn't have even thought it's not scripted. It is, because I come and it's like, and even when I've listened to the recordings, when I missed a couple, you know, the the best thing is to be able to be live. But
Yes, yeah.
and you play it back in a recording, I was amazed that even in the recordings, those are happening. So, so really the experience for me, yes, to pray like that, because we know, and you know, I know, that the universe, the spirit, God is leading. And so for us, for you to ask that and to be guided and open yourself up like that, I mean, that's what's going to happen, you know? So, so to get back to the other thing with this coping mechanism, which I developed in a first marriage, I probably had it growing up. And we won't, you know, you start there, I guess, you know.
Yeah. Yes.
You choose. Yeah, we know that. But anyway, but growing up, I was your people pleaser girl with no opinion of her own, just kind of happy and, you know, outgoing and stuff. But anyway, into a marriage that I was very much in love, very much. We were very young, 21. I guess we met when we were 18. Back before anybody knew what a healthy relationship even was, you know, we didn't know. But, you know, he had good qualities, wonderful qualities, and then really a real problem with rage. So, so as the time went on, and it was a very long time, 7 years, and praying about it in church and different things and, you know, all of that. But I had developed my own responses or reactions.
Yeah.
And so move on out of that. And 4 years later, I got remarried to a completely different person, very calm, very, you know, I loved him. But anyway, things didn't work out for their other reasons. But there was something that he said to me a couple times. And early on in the first year, when we'd have a tiff or an argument, you know, he'd said, I see you as you've got like your fists up. Crazy. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm giving you a, you know, and he would say, it's just, you're very intense. And okay, so we moved on what best we could. And I would start to deal with that. He would say to me over time, and calmly too, you know, he would say this part, and really, he very rarely yelled or anything, you know. He said, you know I've done things wrong, and I do, and I try to take responsibility for them, but you don't really do that for me, and you're not a soft landing for me. And of course I thought of the times when I absolutely think I'm a soft landing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But anyway, okay. So now we're fast forwarded to where I am, right? And situations, different things came up, and what's happening, the big thing is when we grow, when we're in a growth, they no longer serve us, these coping.
Right. It's almost like it's clothing that doesn't fit us anymore, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so calling out to God, you know, as I was doing my devotions, which is a renewed thing for me, and you know, really earnestly praying, and I mean crying, you know, that sometimes we just have to sob it out.
Yes.
And crying and really saying, I know I need to be healed, you know.
Yeah.
That led in, as I told you, Donna, that one Sunday morning, I'm on Facebook scrolling, and there comes up do we call it a webinar? I'm not sure.
Masterclass, webinar. Yeah.
It's my attention, and I see that it's free.
Yes.
I see that it's starting in 7 minutes. And I'm like, well, I want to watch this. I had 7 minutes, you know, and I knew I wouldn't be on Zoom, so I could stay in my nightgown.
Yes, exactly. You could stay comfy. You didn't have to worry about going anywhere.
And then you had offered the free call, and we did that. And I just got the sense that I needed to really do this program. I didn't want to not do this program. So anyway, back to how you've been helping, and then there's other ways too. It isn't just this, but what I talked to you about yesterday specifically was that your story that you were sharing, the particular one of a couple weeks ago, and how you handled it. I would think back to that, and I thought, you know, she very honestly shared that it was really tough, and that it was sometimes tempting to go into that place within ourselves, you know, that's, wait a minute, you know, I mean, you handled
rethinking everything,
and the people very well, but I mean, inside, we know.
Yes, inside, yeah.
And you were still in your, I call it power. I don't know if you said the word power. You might have said it differently, but you were still in what I saw as strength. And the strength was still there in your softness, in your,
Yes.
right? And for the first time, trying not to choke up here, for the first time in my life, I thought, I think it's possible for me.
I'm gonna cry too. I'm gonna cry with you.
Okay,
This is the broken open moment.
I thought I think it's possible for me. And so in praying on that and thinking back to how certain things had happened in my life, it could be relatives. It's just, it's not just a romantic situation. It's anything. We take it the wrong way. We have the knee jerk, even inner way.
Yes.
And we think that we're handling it one way and we're not. And the mind was leading me towards fear and insecurity. And I was thinking on those things. And I guess I was thinking about you and the hope and the reason, the inspiration and all that, how I could believe that change really can come for me. I have to grab a tissue, excuse me.
Yeah.
Because my eyeliner is starting to sting.
Yes,
okay.
we can. Yes, you got. Yes, the tissue is needed.
Okay,
it's a tissue moment.
So anyway, and I got this thought immediately, a word in my mind, like immediately, like how do I really make this change? Why did I? What? And it was default, and it was everything until that point was my default. And what really spoke to me about that word is, when you're on default, it's set. We revert. We don't think about it. It's boom. It's there. It's not like something that I was consciously choosing.
That's right. It's subconscious. Absolutely 100% subconscious.
Right. And then came, but your default is changing, and you'll have a new default. And I thought,
girl, that's that. And you know what, Susan? That is exactly what the work that I do. But I also am humble. Like I truly say, the work that I do and how I show up, it's not me, it is God. I say God too. So, that's what I say, universe, source, whatever you feel that, but for me, it's God. And I say that it is God's energy that does the work, right? Because it truly is it. But what I know enough in human, in how we function in humanity, to know that we do run on default. So 95% of our life is run on default. And by the time we're 37 years of age, our default is set. We're robotic, right? Most people will, what I call sleepwalk through life. They'll think they have control. They'll think but they really don't. Like you said, the same interactions will happen. The same reactions will happen. The same, conversations will happen. The same thing. It just happens over and over. It just plays out different times, different people, different places. But essentially, if you look back, you're like, wow, it's the same thing. And like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be just with my husband. It could be with a friend, a family member, work. But anyway, going back to the default, is most people will go through their life on default, and they will try to create a new life thinking with the same thinking. And you can't do that. What will end up happening is you'll get to a portion, like you'll start something new and you'll see new things. And then, but again, by default, you'll go back. And that's why you can't create a new life with the old thinking. That the work that I do is I come in here first and we have to reprogram you, but in a good way, right? We're resetting your default system, because there's a couple of things that are happening. Number one, we're giving enough room for God to come in and do his work. We're getting you out of the way, right? Because that's what happens, is that we are so used to managing our life and managing what we're doing and thinking forward and handling because we have to, right? It's like we're left in this position where we have to manage everything, and there's a lot of burdens that we're shouldering, and that doesn't leave a lot of room for God to come in to do any work. So if I sort of open the door a little bit and let God come in to do his work, now there's some room there. But then on the humanity level, is we're resetting your default, is we're taking what no longer serves you, what no longer is needed for you anymore, and we're going to get rid of it, and we're going to replace it with what does serve you and what you do need. And now this is going to reprogram your default so you can have an amazing life, that you can attract the partner who you want to be with, that you can live the life on terms, your terms, not anybody else's terms. Like, we realize that we have co-creating power. And when that happens, like you said, like that well up of emotion is so freeing, because you realize, and I think the word you said was hope. There is hope.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what age you are, it doesn't matter what skills you have or you don't have. We're all coming to, it is possible for anyone. However, what I will say is it's possible for people who are willing to do something different.
Yes.
Who are willing to do something uncomfortable, and who are willing to invest in themselves. Because here's and I don't know if you feel this, I'm a big believer of free information. Like, that's why I do my masterclass, right? Because some people will never ever work with me, and that's okay. And if in the masterclass, if there's information there that could help them a little bit, then I think my job is done. And I'm a big believer in books. I'm a big believer in listening to masterclasses and all of that. However, what I do know is if you don't invest in yourself, that's where the transformation happens. So I think there's a difference between education and transformation. Education for the free stuff is great, but when you put skin in the game, right? And that's the reason why I say that. Like, when you put skin in the game and you have a vested interest in drawing the line in the sand and sort of taking a chance, because this is a leap. When you do this, it's a leap to do it. But when you take the leap and you say, I am going to do, because I love myself enough to do this. Mm-hmm. I love myself enough, and I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing, but I just know that this is it. And I'm gonna love myself enough to do it. When you do it and you get to the other side, the way that I kind of explain it is, like, at least what I feel when I was going through my coaching experience is, I would feel like I was at the top of the cliff looking down at my friends who are all in the water, who all jumped, and were like, come on, it's great. Come on in, it's great. And I would, oh gosh, I don't know, can I do it? Am I going to be? And then finally, when I jumped in, I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm here. Do you feel the same way in the way, like, that has, kind of rolled out for you in this experience and the whole?
Oh yes, because my best friend who lives in Georgia is very much on, like, these wavelengths. In fact, it's interesting. She's actually been developing her own thing that she plans to be I don't know if she's so much a relationship coach. She's looking to be as much as a life coach.
But anyway, coach. Yeah.
Same, universe. I mean, different, yes. Maybe different religion, but same, yes. Same. And talking about this for years. We're friends for 18 years, and she's heard me now speak on this being woke and understanding, and she's like, you got it, you see what because she used to say to me, well, we can still be positive and in this power. And I'm thinking, oh, so here's what I said to her just last night. I said, Deb, do you remember when you would say something to me about, or other people, therapist, well, we could respond this way to a situation.
Yes.
Yes. I would think, Donna, I would think about it. Yeah, but you know what? And this is in my head. It's not me. It's not me when I'm really pissed off and upset. Not that I want to yell and be that way, but to just speak in a way that's kind of kind but firm. That's just not who I am. So now, again, things are changing, and I'm learning that, it is who I am becoming, and that it's not.
And it's also because you're choosing that. Like, that's a big difference.
Strength,
right? Because you're choosing. And when you say softness, I also add in, or even replace it with vulnerability.
Oh, absolutely, right? Like, they go hand in hand.
Like the softness and the vulnerability. But what you're saying is, because if you think about our natural born spirit as love. Love is vulnerable, love is soft. Love is powerful, right? And we are love. We're made out of love. So, but what happens is the humanness and the calluses of life take over many times. And they bring the element of, I can't do it, it's too late, I don't have enough this, I'm not that, or it's too hard, or there's no, this is just the way my life is going to be, there's nothing else possible, right? They take out the hope, right? Because the way that I see it is, it's, you know, Abraham Hicks and Esther and Jerry Hicks talk about, it's like a hose. You're actually pinched off from source, right? There's a pinch. So you feel like you're not, you know, you're not necessarily connected. But when we go back to allowing God to come back into your life, in a way, not that he ever left your life, but in a way to allow just thinking differently to happen, to reprogram our thoughts, right? When you allow that room to come in, guess what? You're no longer in battle with the world. You're no longer in combat with your soul fracture. Your soul fracture is being recognized, it's being honored, and it's also being healed.
Yeah. And
then it's a whole new way of living.
And it, you know what, too, for like, even everything's pulling together spiritually, because for me, variety of churches I'd been to, and still have my sound faith, but know that I didn't want to experience certain things again, you know. So I was still at this place of, you know, maybe I'll find a place to, you know, but and while never losing the faith that I had in my higher power God, all of this that was leading right up to my doing your webinar, your next class, was bringing me into this place with him, for, you know, to like experience this peak is like I never, and I know we go through peaks and valleys, you know, and he's with us, but getting to this like summit or something is like, I don't want ever for the rest of my life, because then if I choose a church to go to or not, whatever, that's the secondary thing. This is it, you know, and I know. I know because I know you
just do, and we won't get into it too much, right? Because
right.
You know, but you know, the little things like you getting the pay it forward card at Starbucks that you got. Right. You wanted to, so just so everybody, so I had Susan do an exercise about manifesting, and we started with something small. So Susan said she's going to manifest a cup of coffee. And there's a whole story behind it, but long story short, she goes to Starbucks one day and the person in front of her bought her a cup of coffee, actually gave her a gift card, right? A Starbucks gift card. And like, so these are the little things that mean so much. So here's what I would ask you is, if someone is listening to this, we know that there's certain sister souls out there that need to hear you, and that your story and where you're at is going to mean something to them. What would you tell them about investing in Divorcing Gracefully and Beyond, or just even investing in themselves, right? Because I may not be the best person for them, and that's okay, right? But for the people I am right for, wonderful. And people I'm not, then they'll find the right coach for them. But what would you say about doing this work? I mean, I can only speak for my work, right? I only could speak for the work that I do and the women who I serve in my program. So what would you say to them about that?
I'm really glad you asked me that. So my answer is going to be twofold, and I'll start right now with an investment financially, only because I think this could help somebody. You know, so I had to think, normally I may not be in a position to, even though I do believe your rate is very, very affordable. I mean, absolutely. But I didn't know whether I could really, you know, part with that at the time. So I have been blessed with, goodness, felt like an overabundance of a tax return. I mean, it was like, crazy, like, what? That's what I'm getting back? And so I was able to afford it. And I share this because if anybody, and even so, we still say, I did initially like, God, did I do the right thing? You know, did I invest that? You know, and I would still say, I believe it's the right thing. So I'm here to say it is the right thing. And I guess if anybody out there listening, wondering about that piece, because it might be difficult for some, maybe they can manage it. You know, if that is it, and God or their higher power or universe is leading them, I would just say to continue to either meditate on it, if you pray, and if that's the leading that they get, to not worry about that piece. If they're able to do that, it will be over and beyond their investment. So that's the financial piece. The other piece is, my goodness, Donna, I don't know what to say other than you're just a wellspring of like a wellspring of not only information, hope, knowledge, your joy that radiates when you tell us things we know is real. Because, you know, and here we are on Zoom, but I can see it, I can feel it through the screen.
Yeah.
So can everybody else. And so it's like the investment was beyond anything that I could have imagined. And we're only, what, a third of the way there?
Yes, we're only just beginning. We're a third of the way there. And I'm so glad that you said that, Susan, because people will often ask me, Donna, you know, how can I get transformation in just 3 months? And I actually say, believe it or not, 3 months, you'll be ready. Like, you know, and the program that I actually do is now a year long. Like, you know, if you continue on for the year, but the transformation does happen the first 12 weeks. And that's amazing, right? So, and I'm so glad you said that, because you're just a third of the way there. So, and we're just beginning, girl. Like we've got a lot of stuff to do. So.
I know. And I just want to also just tie in the other part of what I was sharing with you and felt led to share with you, right? Mm-hmm. In the email, I didn't put the word in, and you know, yesterday I did when we spoke.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, I don't want to step on, I don't know if anybody, well, anyway, I just had to tell you what I felt like that I was supposed to say to you, which was that I sense my spirit that you have been anointed in this, and that, and that is not a word that I've even thrown out that much lately, especially like, so it's not something I even use that freely. And I say that because it really didn't come necessarily from me. I mean, I'm speaking of, you know, what it's doing for me.
Right.
And then when you shared, again, I couldn't know that would be what you really, that blessed you to a point where, you know, you said you needed that. And then that excitement later on for me in the night after we'd already said goodbye and everything, you know, and just tying in again, like that whole, like our higher power, our universe, our God knows what each one of us needs.
Oh man, I'm starting to get fired up again now. You know why? Because you nailed it. We get in our own way. We try to figure things out. We try to take control. We try to manage everything. And like you said, our higher power knows exactly what we need. If we would just settle down just a little bit and just sit back. I'm not saying that you're going to let people run over you, right? But just sit back a little bit. And you know, because here's what I see, and I see this all the time, Susan, is someone like yourself or even like myself will pray for something, right? God or universe, source, I'm having difficulty in ABC and I need your assistance. Can you please send me someone to help me with ABC? They'll get that. So they'll be, and sometimes it doesn't come in exactly the package that we ask. It may come in something else, right? Like, and that's the thing, is like, we have to learn through life is when we're asking for something to be able to receive it, but also to be open to receiving and not in a package that we would expect, right? So let's say this person asks for help, then they get someone who's able to help them. And then they get scared, and then their brain starts thinking, and then they start trying to control, maybe I could do this, or maybe I could do that. They start bargaining, right? I could do this, or maybe I could do a little this, or I'll do a little that. And they end up going into fear, and they end up doing nothing. So what they're doing is they're causing a chaotic experience in life, because they're asking for support. They're getting support. Support comes, they reject the support. And that's what happens. And if we could just step back a little bit and not allow that fear or the worry or the doubt or the, you know, when you ask for support and it comes, to receive it, just receive it. Because like you said, you are going to be divinely guided with the people, places, and things that are needed for you specifically.
Right, and because it
help you on your path.
It may not look like what we think it should look like.
It usually isn't. I can tell. Here's what I've learned, and I've learned this from my experiences in life, working with the women I work with, as well as I'm always training and going to learn things myself. Is most of the time, what you ask for, if it comes in a way, if you're trying to figure out how it's going to come to you, it's not coming to you that way. If you could figure out like how it's going to come to you, it's not happening that way. It comes in a completely different way. Hence your cup of coffee. Like that's a perfect example. In your mind, you thought someone will make you a cup of coffee or hand you a cup of, like a physical cup of coffee. And you're waiting for this to come around, this cup of coffee. And you couldn't have planned it. Like, you know, I don't know, like sometimes we'll like hang out by 7-Eleven waiting, like maybe someone will give me a cup of coffee. Maybe if I just plant myself by 7-Eleven, like you're trying to force the manifestation, right? Like, you know, like let me just plant myself here and maybe someone will just drop the cup of coffee and then nothing happens, right? Like it just, like, and I know we're going a little longer, but can I share something with you?
Because please.
Okay. So for, you know, as you know, 3 years ago, I lost my brother. He passed away unexpectedly, or maybe you don't know.
I don't know that. No.
And so it was a very difficult time for the family. And I remember getting a download that for some reason butterflies were the way that I just knew, hearts and butterflies were the way I knew Johnny would connect back, right? So I got this download one day, or not even a download. I actually was going through my time where I was still respecting God, but very mad at him.
Absolutely.
Right? Still respect, but mad. And I remember kind of going into, there's one part of the Bible that says you could test me, and that's with money, right? Test me with it, you know, that my storehouses will remain open. But I was saying, I just know, I said, Johnny, was testing God a little bit because that's my like rebellious spirit, I guess sometimes. But at the same time, I said, Johnny, all right, if you're going to show me a butterfly will land on my arm, and that's how I know it's going to be you. When that butterfly lands on my arm. So now I'm in my backyard and I'm basically, every time I see a butterfly, I was like, you know, taking my arm, like, just, you know, just casually.
Come on, Johnny.
Yeah, like, you know, just, and then bringing my arm and waiting. And finally I was like, I'm getting exhausted at this, like every day trying this. I'm like, okay, this isn't going to work. So actually two things that happened that were amazing. So I go to this conference. After this happened, I had a colleague of mine, we were supposed to go to this conference that I was speaking at. So I had to go. And this was very shortly after his passing. And believe it or not, the conference was the same place was the last time I kind of saw Johnny alive. So it was kind of like bittersweet for me because it was like kind of hard to go, but I had to go because I committed. Anyway, long story short, we're at the conference and my colleague was there with me and we're getting ready to pack up and go home. And now she didn't know about my butterfly thing. I didn't share anything with her. And she says, you know, Donna, I was going by this they had tables where you could buy, not furniture, like jewelry and shirts and pocketbooks, things like that. And she goes, you know, I saw this for you. She goes, I was walking by this table and something just called out to me. I had to buy this for you. It's my gift for you. I just want to give it to you. No, I don't want anything. I just want to give you this. Because I'm always like, well, you know, I felt I was going to feel bad, but I accepted it graciously. I said, thank you so much. Well, I opened it up and it was a bracelet. I put the bracelet on my arm and there's a charm on it. And I didn't know what the charm was. But when I shook the bracelet, what fell and landed right on my arm was a butterfly.
Yeah.
It was a butterfly charm.
Wow.
So I knew right then and there, I was
Yeah.
like, Johnny, you're with me. Like, and it wasn't the way that I expected it. I didn't plan. I couldn't have planned for it.
No.
It came in a way I had no idea how it was going to come. And that's what this work is all about. It will come to you and it will come in a way that you will have no idea how it's going to show up. And that's our job. Our job is to allow God and the universe source to do his work, her work, and to just, for us to be able to receive it and to notice it when it happens.
Absolutely. And may I say one more thing
Yes.
too, that as a result of this, what I'm seeing in the course and everything is even the things that I haven't necessarily asked for. So in other words,
Yes.
there's a thought in my mind, there's
Yes.
a question, it's something I'm praying about, you know, I'm thinking about this, and then even if it's not a specific prayer, it's a thought, you know, it's like, yeah. And then you wonder what God's thinking or your higher power is thinking about that or whatever, you know, and then something will come in the course that like speaks to that. And so it doesn't mean that it is an answer, because you weren't necessarily looking for an answer. It's hard for me to explain this. You weren't necessarily looking
Well, I think it's a message,
for an answer.
right? It's a message. For
yeah,
you to
it can bring confirmation of something. It can bring,
Yes.
you know, clarity.
Yes.
So that's happening too. So what I see is when we're in this state of that we're reaching for this transformation, we're not only able to visualize, as you've told us in this Watch the Secret and all that, not only able to do that, but I'm finding that my thoughts are like lining up, unbeknownst to me.
Yes.
What the universe is going to say to me or show me, and I haven't asked or visualized.
And see, that's the key though, Susan. So here's the key to this, and I'm going to share this with everybody, because one of the things that we get wrong, and as a therapist, I truly will say this, I think therapy is a wonderful place if you are in the space where you just can't see out of it. There's been trauma, or there's something that you just need to process. Therapy could be a wonderful space. But after a certain period of time, therapy is not what a person needs, right? And there's what I have found in this work, specifically around soul fractures, around divorce, relationship, breakups, trauma that way, is that there's a 3-piece effect that has to happen. There's 3 pieces to the puzzle that need to come together for true transformation. One is the investment in self. You're the skin in the game, that you're declaring to the universe that I am declaring that I love myself enough. I'm doing the work. Like, you have to declare it. It's not just about, maybe I will, maybe I won't. It's I'm doing it, right? Like you make a declaration that you're ready to do the work. So you're declaring it. So you're setting the stage, right? You're stopping the energy, the negative, and you're sort of jumping from one way of living to another way of living. That's the first thing. The second thing is the work. And that's through what was God breathed through me, plus 20 years of experience of knowing what you need to learn in order to break through the soul fracture, right? So it's the knowledge and you doing the work and learning. So that's the educational piece. The last piece, which is the critical piece, is the group component, the community component, because we are not just a energy, we are a collective energy, and we are energetically tied. We are energetically connected. So when we as a group we form a circle, we form a bond. So we go from having an energy level that could be maybe vibrating at a lower energy level because there's just maybe sadness or fear or doubt or worry, but the highest energy level will absorb the lowest energy level. So you, by proxy, get the benefit of the higher energetic level of energy just by being part of the community. So that's why miracles happen, because, if you think about exponential power, one person could be strong, but exponentially a community can be an army, could be warriors. And that's why we see in our group where you'll see, and it's not just about marriage and separation. This is about life. This is about, careers. This is about health. This is about family. This is about reconnection to spirituality, reconnection, falling in love with ourselves, I have seen families healed, bodies healed. I have seen promotions. I have seen money. You name it. I've seen it, because that's what the collective energy does. And that's why you're feeling it, because it's palatable. Like, you could feel it and say, I don't even know how this is happening or why this is happening, but now you do. Yeah. Right? Now you know why, is because the collective energy piece. That's why, if you want, listen, anyone could go out and say, I'm going to change and I'm going to do the work, and you could take it and do it 10 to 20 years it could take you to do. Because that's what happens, right? If you do just a little piece at a time, it could take 10 to 20 years. And you may change, but the transformation part may not, won't happen. That's why it's so important to do this now and in the way that it's structured, because that's how transformation happens. We could get results in 12 weeks, what takes people 30 years to do.
Yes.
And that's the science part. That's not woo-woo. That's not me just guessing and saying, oh, let me see if this sticks against the wall. Let me try this. No, it is complete science that has proven the group capacity and the energy that's in a group and how that transformation happens. So that's my job, is to go out to make sure that we are always, as your leader, as your teacher, as your friend, as your sister, is to make sure that everything that's being taught in this program is the best of the best of the best.
Right.
Like that's my responsibility to you. So that's the science part, but that's what makes it so fun. Is the electricity, don't you feel it's like electric energy? It's like you said, the zapping.
And it's a high.
It's a high.
Like this,
yes.
It's this place where you're in that you want to stay there.
You want to stay there. You become addicted. Like even after that's what I'm so honored, because I love our group calls, because on those group calls, I don't know if you feel this, but I feel it. That there's a palatable energy. There's this high. There's this. All of a sudden, I'll have an idea that I won't be getting any sort of movement on. I'll come in the group and boom, something will come to me, and I'll know exactly what to say, or I'll know exactly my next step, or I'll know exactly what to do, because there's just something that shifts. And it's amazing, because after the group, I feel so peaceful and I feel so whole, but I feel tired. Yeah. Right? Because I feel like there's so much that it's like, whoa. And then what ends up happening though is a few hours later, I feel fed, right? So I feel as if like when you don't have that group energy, we're sort of walking around hungry. Mm-hmm. And when you have the group energy, it's continually feeds you.
Yes. Yes.
It's our food.
Absolutely.
All right, girl. Well, listen, we could probably talk for hours and hours and hours, but I want to thank you so much. Thank you, because again, this was, as you said, as an empath and as a healer, to hear those words from you, I needed to, and your spirit knew my spirit needed to hear those words. So thank you for that, because I really appreciate it. And for this opportunity to share, because whoever is listening to this message, hear Susan's message, and her story is your story. My story is your story. We are all one. We have different pieces to the puzzle, but our stories and our connectivenesses are one. So I hope that this was helpful to whoever needed to hear it.
And I mean, I can say you're welcome in spades, but for me it is an honor too. And I thank you, because what an honor if anything I said can help somebody else.
Yes.
So it's just
we're soul sisters walking along this path.
There we go.
And whoever is out there that this message aligns with, come join our hands. We're ready to join you in our sisterhood, right? Like
Absolutely.
If you want to join with us, we're here for you. And if you don't, that's okay too, right? But just know we're here to take your hands.
Absolutely.
All right, Chickie. All right, so let me go ahead. Have an awesome rest of the day.
You too. You do the same.